This week, the world has learned a lot about tsunamis, too much in fact. For one thing, they can't be stopped. And there's no early warning system for the giant tidal waves in the Indian Ocean. The federal government says it will try to get such a system put in place. But even that is no guarantee that we'll be able to avert another wide-ranging disaster.
Here is this disaster's ground zero. 6 miles deep off the coast of Sumatra, the Earth's plates separated on the ocean floor. That created long waves of water and a shock wave moving, at least initially, 500 miles an hour, the speed of a jumbo jet. And when those waves neared shore, well, they had only one place to go. The scenes from thousands of miles away of the helpless, of children, of everything being swept away. All that, of course, nothing short of heart-wrenching. But the reality is the world has long been under attack by tsunamis, mostly in the Pacific, and never on the east coast of the U.S., at least not yet. Some scientists say, though, it's a matter of when, not if. Just look at the scenes from some popular science fiction movies, like The Day After Tomorrow and Deep Impact.
Well, it sounds like science fiction, but the real situation is that we have a group of volcanic islands called the Canary Islands off the coast of northwest Africa. They're active volcanoes, they're very unstable, and one of the islands, La Palma, has a volcano called the Cumbre Vieja on it.
Professor Maguire has been studying the active La Palma volcano, which began to collapse in a 1949 eruption. But that collapse didn't fully happen. Instead, half the volcano moved just a few feet down the slope.
A massive chunk of rock, maybe the size of Manhattan Island, started to slide towards the sea. At some point in the future, that whole mass of rock will drop into the North Atlantic, and it will generate waves, which we've modelled as being maybe 300 or 400 feet high initially, but being maybe 50 or 60 feet high when they hit all down the east coast of the US and Canada.
Maguire says his group believes that when the volcano next erupts, 20 years from now, 200 years from now, there's really no way to know. When that happens, the molten lava will heat trapped rainwater that is collected in the rock for centuries. The pressure will be too much, and 500 billion tons of rock, 500 billion, will plunge into the North Atlantic. And that could create a landslide-based tsunami with waves much bigger than Sunday's earthquake-based waves.
And it's going to be big enough to involve the entire Atlantic Ocean.
Scientists do agree we need a global tsunami warning system like the one in the Pacific. Sensing devices on the ocean floor that can tell if a giant wave is moving in the deep ocean, and then relay the message to buoys on the surface. They send a message by satellite to monitoring stations, and then to places like Cannon Beach, Oregon. They test periodically that tsunami siren, but instead of the real siren, they use a recording of a cow.
Test.
So that people won't actually head for the hills.
If you talk to people about disasters, they're going to say tornadoes, hurricanes, thunderstorms, lightning strikes. In most cases, you're going to get warning on those kinds of situations, or you're at least going to know that they're in the neighborhood and there's the possibility of it. This is something that starts underground. What happens underground, we're not watching as carefully, as closely, because there hasn't been as much activity. There hasn't been as much damage. Now that there's a greater need, people will probably respond.
And a warning is about all science can do right now, although tsunami experts desperately wish we could do it in every ocean and everywhere. Professor Maguire says he hopes that Spain, which controls the Canary Islands, will start monitoring Cumbre Vieja again. His group will be watching.
We're in fact planning to use radar satellite imagery, maybe look at the volcano on a regular basis to see how it's deforming in the future.
So how real is all this? Walls of water rushing across the ocean? Well, some scientists say we might as well worry about an asteroid hitting the Earth or being struck by lightning. All possible, but not likely. Of course, the hard reality is there's no way to prevent a tsunami from coming.
Bill Ritter of ABC America was the reporter there. One thing that is certain in the wake of this terrifying event is that Australians are among the most generous people on Earth.
Give, from 1 cent to $1 million or whatever it may be. Everyone's just so generous. I'm actually getting goosebumps.